Welcome to the Big O Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe.
Still the same damn kid from Oklahoma, same old dreams hanging off my shoulders, wishing and waiting on a shooting star for all to see.
And now your host, straight out of Oklahoma, former Buffalo Bill, Jerry Ostroski.
I'm still the same damn kid from Oklahoma.
What is going on, everybody? It is Wednesday night, and it is once again time for the Big O Show right here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. We are powered by Believe, and happy national holiday. Today is a national holiday, folks, as we all put our hands in the air and wave them like we just don't care.
We made it. We made it, guys.
The 2025 Buffalo Bills season has begun.
We made it.
First practice took place today down in St. John Fisher in Rochester. We'll get into that. We'll get into some news as far as injuries go and just some other scuttlebutt. But I felt as we celebrated this national holiday, I had to bring in my main guys, my man, former Buffalo Bill John Fina, Joe Miller, the big toe of the organization known as the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. I wanted to celebrate with my friends, my homies. Fellas, how's it going?
I am doing great. It is, as I just put in the comment section on YouTube, actual football things are happening. It's the beginning of the season. The media drop for Hard Knocks was chilling. There was the drop yesterday by the Buffalo Bills. It was yesterday, right, about the red helmets, or the day before, and
Yesterday.
it had some Van Miller in there. It's fantastic. It's been a pretty good week so far, and the weather here is fantastic as well. I'm doing great. John Fina, how are you doing?
Well, as Joe Miller likes to say, don't wish your summer away waiting for the Bills training camp and the Bills season to start. However, I reside in the crucible of heat in Tucson, Arizona. So I'm happily wishing my summer away. Totally excited about training camp. I mean, trying to work today, and then every half an hour, I'm like, oh God, I haven't gone to Twitter. Shaking like an addict. Like, oh my God, the drug is coming back. Sensitivity to all the people who struggle with addiction, not to minimize it, I guess I should say. But I was like, there's this overwhelming energy, and it's palpable. And it was palpable when I was in Buffalo last weekend. Everybody around wearing Bills gear, just amped up. Love it.
Let's start real quick with who is not participating in Bills training camp so far. Dawson Knox, a hamstring. Cedric Van Pran-Granger, a calf. Spencer Brown with a flared-up back. They are on the PUP list. Laviska Shenault has a lower leg strain. He is actually on the non-football injury list, so those two things are separate. Those guys are not participating. McDermott wouldn't get into timetables, but he was kind of specific about Brown, and Knox said Knox knows his body, tweaked his hamstring last week training. As far as Spencer Brown goes, we understand since he's been in the league, heck, since he was at the University of Northern Iowa, he's had some back issues that he deals with. His back has flared up, and they're trying to get it calmed down. Any nervousness, any concern about this, or are we talking veteran players that, let's face facts, other than Shenault, who's probably a bubble guy to begin with, I don't think I'm very freaked out by this. I mean, you guys, what do you think, John, as far as this goes, day one, these guys not participating?
Yeah, the Knox thing doesn't bother me at all, right? He's a crafty old veteran. He might have just not wanted to start on day one too. We saw a lot of that in our day, Jerry. Veteran rest sometimes just means veteran rest. Got to put something on it. Okay, tweaked his hamstring a little bit. I'm not concerned. Spencer Brown's a different story, right? I mean, that guy was durable as hell and fantastic right tackle for us last year. So I don't know if it really concerns me, but, they have ways to get that to quiet down, whether it's injections or just anti-inflammatories, things of that nature. That one would, red flag me just a little bit about concern. I guess if he's back in the next 3 to 5 days, no big deal. Chenault, this is really bad news for him, right? You said he's a bubble guy. This doesn't help at all. It just reminds me of, a couple of guys that came in the wide receiver room last year that just, weren't ready. And next thing you know, they're gone.
Chase Claypool.
It was, it was funny about the Brown situation. I brought this up in a text message earlier in the day to Joe Marino, good friend of the show, obviously. And right away, Joe's like he's got that steel trap mentality. Like he never forgets anything, right? Instantly, I get fired off a tweet from 2023 and a report of Spencer Brown walking gingerly off the field due to back issues.
That's right.
So, when you get these things, and we know that he's had surgery in the past, it's always going to creep up at some point. I don't think this is a Deion Walker situation, although it was known today. It was said that he is a full go participant moving forward, no limitation in his reps like he had in OTAs. So he's probably feeling better. We'll see how that whole thing goes once we get pads on. But, we've all basically had back issues at some point in our lives, most of us. If you haven't, then you probably sit – I don't know what you do all day long. I think everybody I know in my house has had a back issue. And it's going to flare up at some point. I would imagine they'll get this thing calmed down. Spencer Brown will be fine. And, John, I kind of echo your sentiments on this. Veteran players know how to play. Missing a little bit of time in training camp is not going to affect Spencer Brown come game one of the season against the Ravens.
It might benefit him.
Right. That's why I always laugh, because McDermott's a big, you're missing reps. I'm like, dude, really? I mean, the younger guys, I get. Some of these dudes could do this with their eyes closed and just go through a practice motion. I mean, guys like Deion, Josh, and the like. So not real freaked out about that. Another area that was talked about was James Cook. McDermott said he looked James Cook in the eye, could tell he was ready, and said he's ready to go. 4-word statement on James Cook. No indications that he will do a kind of a whatever you would call it, a holdout,
hold in
or whatever. He was there today participating. Then you go to the Brandon Beane press conference later in the day. He talks about, and again reiterates how we've talked. We want to pay everybody. And I did think it was interesting. He drug McGovern into this as well. Said very similar situation to James Cook. We want to pay everybody, but we got to see how things go. We didn't want to get rid of Trey White last year, but we had to. You think this is a good sign for James Cook being there now, participating, seems to be ready to go. Now, obviously, we don't have pads on, but all indications are everything's moving forward and it's status quo.
Who's that to? B or John?
Joe
I'll
Miller.
go to you, Joe. Go to you, Joe Miller.
I don't know that it's a good indication for I think it's a good indication for the Buffalo Bills. I think it's a good indication for James Cook in as much as he is being a team guy. He's being a stand-up guy. There are guys around the league right now, an actual odd number of guys that are holding out and kind of like forcing a salary increase issue. I don't know that the Buffalo Bills want to pay a running back a second contract. They might. I'm not there. Who do you pay second contracts to, guys? Tackles, right? Quarterbacks, edge rushers, right? Centers, probably. I don't know that. Yeah, corners. I don't know that. I hope so. I think we all on this show love James Cook, see the value in James Cook. I love the fact that he's there day one. He's practicing, mainly because of what the national media did about this situation about 3 months ago when and we talked about it, put his house up for sale, removed the Bills from all of his socials and everything else. It's like, oh, there's trouble in Buffalo. Everybody wants to see the giant fall. Whoever the giant is, and the Bills are one of those giants, right? 5-time AFC East champions. Is there a kink in the armor? Is it not happy in Pleasantville? It appears that it is. The question is do the Bills want to pay James Cook a second contract? This helps that, but I can't speak to it.
Well, I think with regard to what you were saying earlier, Joe, house up for sale, Bills off the socials, right? He brought that up to a certain point, and it met the point of Brandon Beane. Now, either Brandon Beane said, you're not doing anything to ingratiate yourself, even if you have a 1,500-yard season and 30 touchdowns, right? We're not going to be held hostage, so you might as well cool it. So it was either Big Baller Beane saying that, or somebody finally got to him and said, kid, Jerry O's told you, you got no leverage. Shut your mouth. Go out and perform. But the crazy thing is, think about the timing of it. He quit doing all that far enough ago, long enough ago, that it's kind of, it's not really that exciting to bring up. It's a little bit ancient history. Gives the wound time to heal. So now he can come back, and whether he establishes himself as that 15 million year guy or not, it may or may not even change what Brandon Beane can do in the offseason. So really, I mean, his smartest thing to do was to strap his helmet on and just go knock heads and show up. And whether you're playing for the Bills in 26 or not, you still want to approach that 13, 15 million mark.
You said it best, John. His one leverage point that he has is the play that he puts out there on film on Sundays. Period.
That's it.
End of discussion. That's the end of it. So James Cook in there, lots of good things said about that. I kind of wanted to get you guys' opinion on this, and I thought this was pretty funny. Joe talked about it earlier. The Hard Knocks trailer is phenomenal. Okay. And if you listen to McDermott in his press conference today, someone asked him if there was a mantra for the season. That you got a mantra for the season. And McDermott made the point to say, I don't like to do that too much, because if you have too many of them, they go on deaf ears. They just kind of all jumble together. He goes, we do have one. I don't care to share it. Well, if you listen to the press conference, the mantra could be Buffalo Bills 2025. We have nothing to hide. Because McDermott said it multiple times. Beane said it multiple times. Did you find it weird, though? We get all the pictures from training camp and the short videos on Twitter and Instagram and all that. And if you look carefully, every picture has one or two dudes in the blue T-shirt trying to blend in with a camera and a boom and everything else. Just, it kind of comes to reality real quick, just how invasive it is at training camp to have this crew there filming Hard Knocks. I thought it was, I don't think it was hilarious. I thought it was really interesting, and just, it kind of drove home to me anyway. These cats are everywhere, man. They're everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. It's going to be interesting to see how all of that unfolds. And I tweeted out, it's going to be, I'm excited for the world to see who we are, right? So to see inside the locker room, I'm excited for the world to see a true snapshot of Josh Allen, the Josh Allen we in Buffalo get to see, because we are inundated with Josh Allen news and, obviously Children's Hospital and all the stuff that he does and the way that he is, like, just, and I know that the NFL Network spends a day, and I think maybe ESPN does as well, at each camp, and they talk about Josh signing autographs. But literally, if you've been to camp, and I've been to camp, how Josh is the last one there signing autographs for little kids. He avoids the adults, which is great. I'm excited for the world to see that part of this team and our player. I have a question for you guys about some of what we might see. Sorry about that. But I'll let John go first before I ask the question.
Oh, well, just real quickly, I kind of I like this idea of being a disruptor, right? So in my mind, I'm hoping that Hard Knocks expects some drama, something to happen, but what I'm hoping for is like a giant love-in, and everybody just gets to see the culture that we've sort of come to grow and love about our team over the past 4 years. And then the Hard Knocks people are like scratching their heads. They're like, what the hell do we have here? And then they're putting on like another Hallmark movie of training camp about, everybody getting along and how much fun it is and what a great peek into a terrific organization that we have. That to me would just be like just the creme de la creme to finish it off.
They've got to show the seriousness of which they go to work, right? So I mean, it's business, but it's also a family joy. Bosa talked about that today, that in the 6 weeks that he's been here, and who knows,
that was awesome.
Who knows? But who knows how much of it's hyperbole? And you two could probably speak to that, because you played in this town for a very long time, and those Jim Kelly get-togethers and the team get-togethers were very important for you guys. But at the same time of the business, we're here to work. and we are a team and we are a family, I also reflect back to just things we've seen last year in the locker room. Sean McDermott is in the middle of giving like a pretty serious speech, right? I don't remember what it was about. Pauses for a second. Josh Allen's like,
and by the way, Josh today commented. Josh went to the interview tent after practice, looked around. The Hard Knocks people were there. He's like, "You guys are everywhere." The quarterback said with a smile as the Bills open training camp. Obviously Josh Allen, no stranger to the spotlight, reigning MVP, married to Hollywood star Haley Steinfeld, one of the league's richest contracts, all that. And he says, as far as being mic'd up at Hard Knocks, yeah, I tried not to cuss as much, Allen said, just making sure that anything I say, my mom would be okay with, which led me to believe this, or think about this, John, and just thinking about our time playing. Could you imagine the stuff that would be going on? Dudes sneaking behind dudes with mics and going over to the boom, and who's got their short, it just, the stuff said, I mean, it would be unreal. That's the stuff that I wish we could get the Be Real Hard Knocks, which is all the stuff they cut out from the idiots and the stuff they say and everything else. I mean, it's got to be, some of it, it's got to be a blast. It's got to take your mind away a little bit from some of the monotony of camp.
Well, given Dion and Trey White's personalities, they're probably in a meeting room somewhere scheming on how to embarrass the Hard Knocks crew in a fun-loving kind of way. And I'm here for it. That's the B-roll I want. It's cool. It is really cool. You got the MVP, one of the highest paid players. You go into a place that, is roundly ignored by many people, or, described woefully as this horrible Western New York, cold, snow, et cetera, et cetera. And people, coming to Buffalo in the summer and training camp get a peek into the beauty of Western New York, and the quality of our fan base is really something that I'm glad that the rest of America can really take the opportunity. And I've never watched a damn show ever.
That does not shock me.
I will be watching this.
Does not shock me. I've watched every one of them.
So they're good. They're good.
Shock you either.
The midseason one last year was good, right?
Yeah, the midseason one was good too.
Preseason. How many do they do?
They usually only do mid. Sorry, Jerry.
No, I was going to say preseason has always been preseason, but it's been so popular they went to a mid-season model. Hell, they've even gone to a college embedded model where they're going embedded into programs and watching college teams throughout the season.
It always interferes with me rewatching Murder, She Wrote, so it's going to be hard to find the time.
Or what's
could have gone Matlock or something.
No. John watches the streaming channel with all the British shows on it.
Oh, BBC,
BritBox. He watches BritBox.
I mean, like Magnum PI would have been admirable.
I thought Murder, She Wrote was going to be hilarious. I didn't think I get criticized for that.
No, Murder, She Wrote's wonderful. My mother's watched every episode about 150 times, I believe. That's her favorite.
I watch it for the fashion tips, bringing back the 80s fashion.
A little Angela Lansbury. But one thing that did happen today, as we digress, and you're listening to the Big O Show here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. We are powered by Believe. We're always here on Wednesday nights. You want to catch us on Sunday night, the three of us will be back for the Overreaction Show. Then John with Off Tackle with John Fina. Him and Joe will be on that show presented by Salen's Hot Dogs. I wish I had a Salen's Hot Dog right now. You know what I did get the other day in the mail, though, that you put on a Salen's Hot Dog? That horseradish mustard from Weber's. I got some of that. I got it. It was my birthday not too long ago, and I got somebody.
Wow, they really went crazy for you, Jerry.
No,
listen. Hey, Dad, here's some mustard.
No, I had a friend send me a Buffalo. It's called Buffalo in a Box, and I got Chevettas. I've got Anchor Bar wing sauce. I've got mustard. Hell, I even got a can of Loganberry. Man, it was wonderful. So, got some maple syrup from Western New York. Really good deal. But something that happened today that I want to get into, and this is kind of the
Wait, Joe had something he wanted to launch, Jerry.
Go ahead.
On the launch. Well, on the beat's coming back Tuesday, so we don't.
No,
I don't.
no.
Okay.
You said you had a question that you wanted to pose, but then you wanted me.
Oh, just as far as getting in behind the scenes is before we transition from training camp real quick. So John, you were a part of two organizations, Buffalo and Arizona. Jerry, you were a part of a couple more organizations. I'm curious to know, and I don't mean the grossly inept organizations where it's like, man, this place is backwards and upside down. How different is it really? Like inside of franchises and organizations, you've got different temperatures and you've got different personalities. Jerry Jones is the general manager and the owner. You've got other teams that like hire horrible coaches all the time. But when you talk about teams that are level set, is it pretty similar inside of all organizations, or is it like, wow, every place is different?
It's incredibly different. As a matter of fact, my first practice in camp with the Bills, I thought I was getting pranked. Even before pranked was a show. If Ashton Kutcher could have jumped out and said, "We got you," I'd have been like, "Hey, I'm pranked." We go through practice. It's like an hour and 25 minutes in, an hour and 30 minutes in. Marv calls everybody up, and I do want to talk about Marv in a little bit. Do not let me forget that.
Yep.
And I'm like, "All right, here we go. We're getting ready to hook up. We're going to, live. We're going to go for the next hour and a half." And he goes, "Okay. Injury guys, make sure you get treatment after lunch. You got whatever special teams meeting at 1. I'm like I look at Glenn Parker. I go, "What are we doing? Are we getting ready?" He goes, "I don't know what you're doing. I'm going to lunch." And I was like, "Really?" And that was it. I went to River Falls, Wisconsin with the Kansas City Chiefs. 3-hour practice every day, twice a day,
wow.
Full pads, a month plus. I went to Atlanta. 2 practices a day, full pads, 3 hours at a time. It was like Zombieville. It was where they probably got the inspiration to write The Walking Dead. And it was just completely different. And then I go to Buffalo and it's like, what is this? And they're, everybody's running around like this is the norm, like you never wore pants. We cut our pants off. What Wade Phillips got hired.
For everybody listening, we were wearing shorts and we were walking around.
Well,
naked.
what I mean, because the comment section is getting ready to go wild. The freaking the birds on a wire over there, and you know who you are.
Hilarious.
We had football pants. You just cut off the we never wore knee pads. You just wore shorts, and I'm like, what is this? It was and we were pissed at Wade when he got hired because he made us wear football pants and practice once a day.
Even though the practices were just as short.
Yeah, the practices were just as short and so barely more physical, but we had to wear pants and everybody was pissed. It was like going to be a coup.
I only know 2 organizations. The Bills, for the first 9 years, totally organized. The last year, disorganized, garbage. And then Arizona Cardinals, which I think has improved since then, but wildly disorganized, dysfunctional, discombobulated, as many dis words as you can come up with. I mean, the upside was we didn't practice long, but we were still terrible.
The thing I wanted to talk about before we get in, and I want to end the show on Marv. We got a little bit of time left in the show today here on the Big O Show. One of the things that I was excited about after this draft and this offseason, and I had talked about it in the past where I felt like our starters, before we even got to camp, basically when you went into OTAs, you could write their names in ink. And our starters were solidified. There was really not much competition. This draft, we've just added a ton of young talent that's infused this roster, especially in the defensive backfield and the defensive line. And you look at this, and I was wanting to see, because everybody's talking about Hairston and Trey White, trust and all this. And I'm like, look, some of these guys, you just got to let it go out and see things. First practice in, prime example of Hairston and what he brings to this roster. He makes, if you watch the play and you always catch the end of it, he makes a tremendous diving stop on a pass play to KJ Hamler. Here's the rest of it you don't see, and I believe it was Alex Brasky that put this out, good friend of the show. Props to Alex. He actually was beat on the first part of that route. He was beat. And his athletic ability made up for the mistake, and he made a big play. That, to me, excites me. that is something I don't think we've had much of on this roster. In day one, it shows itself. I expect to see TJ Sanders doing a lot of the same stuff, effort stuff out of Jackson, and it's infectious. And just the way the DBs responded to that play and how he responded to that play, that is what I want to see. That is something different that we haven't seen in the last so many years. Your comments, John, on this infusion of young talent and letting guys go out and play. Maybe they make mistakes, but they're so athletically gifted, they can make up for it and still make the play. Your thoughts on that?
Well, the best thing about the current organization, and I hear what you're saying, there's more guys that are fighting for positions now than there ever were before. But what's cool about the young guys, they get to come in to a very successful team with an enormously fun and fun-loving way of doing business. And when you know, in anything you've ever done, the more relaxed you are, the more at home you are, the more you're going to excel. You're going to take chances. You're going to be accepted more for the things that you do. You're going to be forgiven more quickly for the mistakes that you make. And I think that really bodes well for the young guys with respect to just that play. And I saw it, and everybody should see it on Twitter somewhere. It reminds me just of a comment Kurt Schultz made to me when I was talking about Thomas Smith getting smoked, but they made up the distance and he elevated and tapped the ball away. He said, that's the job, John. I mean, at cornerback, you just want to be close enough and an athlete enough to accelerate and make the play. God, it just kind of enlightened me, and it shouldn't have, because as offensive linemen, you know, we were more or less in pass pro getting dictated to. So you're reacting a split second later than the decision that the guy in front of you has made already. And, you know, it's that kind of ability and these opportunities that they're going to put out there for the young guys that will continue to push the veterans. So I see it as being just an exciting camp in that regard, notwithstanding the fact that the team is great and probably headed back to the playoffs, and they're going to bring the Lombardi to Tucson so I can personally kiss it. You know, it's really probably one of the most satisfying training camps we could ask for.
Joe?
I don't know that I've got anything to add. That was pretty well encapsulated as far as that goes. I mean, when you look at the injection of the youth into this team, my thoughts immediately go to Hairston and Tre'Davious White. So the old guy returns, the old guy that was, you know, the money guy, the first draft pick by Sean McDermott, the guy that, you know, lovingly, we used to have conversations around him getting all the Pagula bucks, was kind of like the phrase that went around about Tre'Davious White when his first contract was up. He's come back. He's re-energized. He's healthy. Word is he looked great out there. He obviously is comfortable here. This is where he wants to be. So to see that battle with Christian Benford, who is reported today to be the best player on the field on defense. So I'm excited to kind of see where all of this goes. Clearly, they're going to need some of that youth on the defensive line early in the season. Sean McDermott spoke about it with just kind of the stuff.
Bring that up.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love where you were going with that, Joe, with the mentoring too.
Yep.
You know, Tre'Davious White working with Hairston. I you know, you'd think, and I bet a lot of people out there think it's like a lot of like secret squirrel stuff. Like, you know, Spencer Brown has the magic sauce, and then they bring in a right tackle, and he's going to deny him and give him bad info and things. It just doesn't work that way. You know, there's a genuine, you know, bond together, everybody gets better kind of thing. Even, I think you probably look at it as a starter and say, this guy is not me. And I own the position, but I don't have to be a dick.
Well said, John.
But you're right. McDermott talked about it today. He talked about with the suspensions of Hoyt and Ogunjobi. And, you know, then you have the situation with Bosa. He's a bit fragile, which, by the way, that's French. Yeah. It's a major award. You know, some of these young guys are going to have to step up and play. They've got to be ready to go, and they're going to have to build that depth early. Something we've talked about multiple times. I've talked about multiple times. This first 6 games is going to be a really good opportunity to do that. We only got a few minutes left in the show. One thing I do want to bring up, especially with John here, because I know that this man means a lot to him as well. Marv Levy turns 100, and that is absolutely amazing. Sean McDermott talked about it today in the press conference. He was asked about Marv, and he said that the reporter, when he was talking, said that we asked Marv if he gives you any advice, and Marv's like, no, he doesn't need any of my advice. He's doing fine on his own. And, McDermott talked about how how special it is to sit in that chair that Marv once held and everything. And John, I wanted to ask you this pretty pointed question. After years and years of searching, not only for a quarterback, but a coach, is it not interesting that while they're not exactly alike, I don't know if Sean McDermott holds a master's in English from Harvard, but while they're not exactly alike, isn't it interesting that the guy that was able to bring this franchise out of the obscurity that it was in and has it on the doorstep of possibly winning a world championship has a lot of the same qualities as our coach, Marv Levy?
I hadn't even thought of it until you mentioned that. And I think you're right. I think it's fantastic. And just add another thing on top of why the Bills need to win it all this year, right? MVP, Hard Knocks, last year in the stadium, Marv turning 100. I mean, how amazing would that be, right?
Red helmet,
which I don't get too excited about. But I think people you can, football players, like I guess most walks of life, people are skeptical. Right. People are, they I think you try to spot a fake, and Marv was Marv from 6 a.m. till midnight. Right. He's the same guy. There was no hiding his delivery on everything. He wasn't pompous. He wasn't a chest beater. And having met Sean McDermott a couple times, it's that, hey, you know what? This is me, like it or not. But what you're always going to get from me is straight talk. You're going to get a genuine representation of what I believe. I'm going to try not to hurt your feelings, but at the same time, you're going to get the facts. And I think that inspires guys, because when you're scheduled D celebrity like myself, you have sometimes people you're like, well, is that dude? You're always thinking like, does somebody have an angle that they're playing here? So you end up kind of like not wanting to believe and to gravitate to people. But when McDermott and Bean, have just this very obvious, genuine nature to them, you just gravitate to that. And it gives you a greater feeling of confidence and a willingness to be open with your teammates and perform better.
I just thought it was always interesting that the thing that I always take away from Marv and the lessons that I took away from him was the way he was able to manage the locker room and he was able to manage the roster, because he allowed people to be men and he allowed them to be individuals within a team concept. And it's just so crazy to me that that's what we have now. We have the same thing. We have a guy that treats his players like men. He allows them to be individuals in a team concept. And you just don't see a lot of the things that you see in other places. A bunch of selfless guys, and I just think that it's really interesting that the similarities between the two coming up on. I never thought about it until just recently, like I said, coming up on Marv's 100-year birthday.
You brought something up, Jerry, and it just brought me to. There's another layer to that. Like, if you're a coach that is a little bit concerned about control, if you don't have a great level of confidence and trust in your players, then you end up being that micromanager. You try to stop things before they happen, and you create almost like, a pressure cooker. If you don't let guys be, and then if guys do something and they overreact a little bit, measure your response based on the severity of what it is. And oftentimes just let it go, because some of those things just cool off themselves. You take the top off the pressure cooker, and guess what? The heat goes away and everything's just fine. But if you just dive in on everything, if you try to prevent everything, if you try to curb everything, if you like over-parenting your kids, where are you? What are you doing? Overscheduling them. Eventually people just snap. And that's exactly the way Bean, McDermott, and Marv handled it.
Joe, John, any final thoughts?
I'll go first. Yes. So with the opening of training camp, just a quick reminder to all of Bills Mafia that listens and watches this show. If you look underneath John Fina's name, there's a website there, overreactionbuffalo.com. That is our website. On that website, aside from all of the podcasts and content that we create, all the Buffalo Bills pressers are there. There's a link or a page there called Bills on the Wire that has all of the national media articles and news kind of going on around. Any article that mentions the word Buffalo Bills or mentions the Bills ends up being sent to that page. So bookmark whatever you got to do on your phone, your laptop, your computer, overreactionbuffalo.com. Other than that, actual football is actually happening, and I'm really excited.
John?
I just want to re-say what Joe said. We're very proud of that website. I don't even go to it enough, but it is pretty damn good. All the resources you need. I'm excited. This time of year makes me think summer in Tucson might end by January. So I'm super excited for Bills football, man. I'm eating it up.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you joining me for tonight as we celebrate a national holiday amongst us. The Buffalo Bills 2025 season has begun. We'll be back Sunday night to talk about the first week of camp. Hey, folks, they only got 11 days in Rochester, then they're going back to One Bills Drive. So really not much of a camp, but we will talk about it here. And again, you heard all the other shows that are coming back. We're excited to bring to you the best Bills content here on YouTube and all the podcasting platforms and everything else, as you get something here that you don't get other places. 2 former Bills and
that's right.
Sergeant Holka, the big toe. So anything, I'm Jerry Ostroski, the big O. He is John Fina. He's Joe Miller. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back on Sunday. Tune in 8 o'clock Eastern as we'll be back here on YouTube. As always, folks, we appreciate you. Hit the like, subscribe, tell your friends, rate the shows. As always, much love. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Still the same.